In the heart of Philadelphia, the city's pulse buzzes with the sounds of busy streets, coffee shops, and the hum of 1,000 stories. Margaret Carter, 34, sits at her desk, her fingers tapping nervously on a stack of spreadsheets. The weight of betrayal sinks deeper into her chest. She spent years building a future, but now, in the blink of an eye, everything she worked for is slipping away. How could her brother, Ethan Harris, do this? He, of all people. A quick glance back at their family gathering, the smiles, the laughs, now feels like a cruel joke. Was all that love just a facade? And why does it hurt so much to be betrayed by family? The world outside seems so different now. Margaret's days in the city had once been predictable. For 8 years, she'd been a trusted investment consultant at Brightstone Investments. Clients flocked to her for her sharp eye, her ability to protect millions. Yet she couldn't safeguard her own financial security. She'd been meticulous, always careful, but no one warned her that betrayal could feel like a slow burn. Her small apartment in North Philly was nothing extravagant, just a one-bedroom, tucked away from the chaos of city life. It was hers, though. She'd fought for it. She'd skipped vacations, turned down nights out, and stretched every dollar. She'd given up luxuries to build a future. Her dream of a cozy brownstone in Lincoln Park. Not a mansion, but a place where she could plant roots. Something real. She put away 30% of every paycheck, counting on the future. The future that was now slipping through her fingers. Her younger brother, Ethan, had always had it easy. He was the golden child. Margaret? The hard-working, responsible one. But that never seemed to matter. How had it come to this? She had no answers, only pain. But the story's far from over. What happened next? It changed everything. The scent of jasmine lingered in the air as Margaret Carter watched her younger brother, Tiffany, laugh with Ethan Harris at the lavish family gathering. The clink of champagne glasses filled the room, but there was an unsettling weight in Margaret's chest. Tiffany, once so close, had changed. It wasn't just the designer gown or the shiny new car in their driveway. Something had shifted. Something deeper. She'd always been the responsible one, the one who worked hard for everything. And now, her family, her parents, were blind to what was happening. They were turning a blind eye to the slow, creeping manipulation of Tiffany's marriage. Why couldn't they see it? Margaret had watched it all unfold from the start. Ethan Harris's vague promises, the debts piling up. First, $200 for a car fix that never came back, then $500 for a business opportunity that turned out to be a lie. Each time, Margaret tried to set boundaries, but each time she was called selfish, cold. Her parents always sided with Tiffany, their golden girl. And as for Margaret, she was just too independent, too self-reliant. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about trust. It was about the years of hard work, of sacrifices made to secure her future, now slipping through her fingers. After she'd paid the $300 bill for their electricity, Tiffany posted photos of herself at an expensive restaurant laughing, living it up. Margaret's blood boiled. How could Tiffany do this? How could her own brother betray her so casually? She felt it, the sting of betrayal from the one person who was supposed to understand her. But the worst part? Margaret couldn't walk away from her family. She couldn't leave the people who had always needed her. Would she ever find her financial independence? Would she ever get her dignity back? The answers weren't clear. But one thing was, Margaret wasn't going down without a fight. I stopped following her on social media after that. But even with everything crumbling around me, I had finally achieved my goal. I saved $87,000 for a down payment. My real estate agent, Diane, found the perfect place, just 2 blocks from the park. It needed a little love, but the bones were solid, and the location, it was everything I had ever dreamed of. The clock was ticking. The market was wild, and Diane warned me, "We'll have to act fast when the sellers accept offers." Just my luck, this all unfolded amid my family gathering at my parents' lake cabin in Michigan, a tradition that pulled our entire crew together, cousins and uncles from all over the country. I thought about skipping it. An excuse about work sounded tempting. Yet, deep down, I valued these traditions, irrespective of everything that had happened. I figured I could swing a 3-day weekend with my family and still be back in time to snag what was rightfully mine. Little did I know that choice would cost me everything I had worked so hard for. The drive to my parents' cabin took 3 hours from Philadelphia. As I pulled up the gravel driveway, I saw cars parked everywhere. The large log cabin sat on 20 acres, overlooking shimmering Lake Michigan, a treasure my grandfather had built, a slice of our family history. The smell of pine trees mixed with the fresh rain scent, and the gentle rustle of leaves evoked memories from my childhood, painted with laughter and joy. Uncle Robert greeted me with his booming voice, echoing across the yard as I grabbed my overnight bag from the trunk. Aunt Patty rushed over, wrapping me in a warm hug, inquiring about my work and city life. My cousins, Mark and Lisa, waved while setting up lawn games. For a moment, I felt the tension in my shoulders lift. This was family. This was home. Then I spotted Ethan Harris walking towards me, grinning like he just won the lottery. That was the first red flag. Ethan Harris had never been friendly to me. Usually his hellos were quick and he'd vanish in a heartbeat. And now he was approaching, and instinctively I felt a jolt of unease. Just then my phone buzzed, jolting me from the brief warmth of this gathering. "Margaret, it's Diane. We've got a problem. The sellers are considering another offer." My heart sank. My dream home, the place that held my future, was slipping through my fingers. Surrounded by my family's laughter, the realization dawned. It wasn't just betrayal from them. It was the cost of loyalty. Margaret Carter, the one who had always been there, now faced the harsh truth that the warmth of tradition was a deceptive cloak. Would I ever reclaim my independence? Could I stand firm against this wave of betrayal? The stakes had never felt higher. I had spent years to build my life, and now everything I loved seemed one decision away from vanishing. But one thing was clear. I wasn't about to let my dreams slip away without a fight. But now, he was approaching with open arms as if we were the best of friends. "Good to see you, Margaret Carter." "Here, let me take that," he said, reaching for my bag. "You look great. That promotion must be treating you well." I felt immediately on edge. I hadn't been promoted recently, and I certainly hadn't told Ethan Harris about my work situation. I thanked him cautiously and looked around for my brother. Tiffany stood on the porch watching us. When our eyes met, she quickly looked away and busied herself with something in the cooler. Another red flag. As we walked toward the cabin, I noticed Ethan Harris's wrist. He was wearing a watch I recognized from the luxury display cases I occasionally browsed but never seriously considered. It looked like a Rolex Submariner easily, a $10,000 timepiece. He also pulled out the latest model smartphone, not just the base model, but the premium version with the largest storage capacity. When I asked about it, he laughed and said his business was finally taking off. "What business?" I asked. "Oh, investments and stuff. It's all very technical," he replied vaguely. Inside the cabin, my parents greeted me warmly. Mom was busy in the kitchen preparing her famous potato salad while Dad was organizing the coolers for the weekend. As we caught up, I kept noticing Tiffany hovering nearby, her behavior unusually nervous. She was wearing a new diamond bracelet that caught the light when she moved. Just last month, she had called complaining about how they could barely afford groceries. During dinner that evening, conversation flowed around the large outdoor table set up on the deck overlooking the lake. I found myself sitting next to my favorite cousin, Emma, who is now a nurse in Detroit. As we caught up, I excitedly shared my news about finding the perfect house. "It's everything I ever wanted," I told her. 3 bedrooms, original hardwood floors, a little garden in the back. I can already picture myself having coffee on the front steps in the morning. I noticed Ethan Harris had stopped his conversation and was listening intently to mine. He slid over closer to our end of the table. "That's amazing, Margaret Carter." "Congratulations," he said, seeming genuinely interested. "So, what's the timeline look like? When do you close? I explained that I was planning to submit an offer as soon as I returned to Philadelphia, hopefully closing within 30 days if all went well. And you've got all the money ready to go all in one account. Ethan Harris asked his questions, becoming oddly specific. At the time, I didn't think much of it. People are often curious about real estate transactions, and I was excited to talk about my plans. I shared that, yes, I had been saving for years and had everything ready for the down payment. After dinner, as everyone was helping clean up, Ethan Harris approached me again. His phone was in his hand, and he looked frustrated. My phone just died and I need to check something important for work. Do you mind if I borrow yours for just a minute? He asked without thinking twice. I unlocked my phone and handed it to him. My mom called for help in the kitchen and I spent the next 15 minutes washing dishes and storing leftovers. When I returned to the living room, Ethan Harris casually handed back my phone, thanking me for the favor. Later that night, as I was getting ready for bed in the small room I was sharing with my cousin Emma, I checked my own emails. I noticed my banking app had been opened recently, which struck me as odd since I hadn't checked it that day. I dismissed it as a glitch. Or maybe I had opened it absent-mindedly earlier. The rest of the weekend was filled with family activities. Saturday morning, fishing off the dock with my dad and uncles, an afternoon hike through the woods with my cousins, a big barbecue at night with stories around the fire pit. For those brief days, it felt like old times. Tiffany seemed to relax as the weekend rolled on. On Sunday, we took a sunrise walk, our laughter echoing like distant memories we were rediscovering. By the afternoon, as everyone packed up their cars, hugs and promises filled the air. My parents couldn't wait to visit my new home once it was officially mine. Tiffany held me tightly, her embrace lingering a second too long. "Drive safe," she whispered, her eyes shimmering with an emotion I couldn't place. Was it worry? I chuckled. "It's just a 3-hour drive, Tiff. I'll be fine." "Thanks for everything, Margaret," Ethan Harris said suddenly, wrapping me in an unexpected hug. "You're a good brother. We appreciate you more than you know." That drive back to Philadelphia felt different. Hopeful, even. Maybe things were turning around with the family. I was ready to reclaim a part of myself. Little did I know, everything I'd worked for would slip away faster than I could imagine. Monday morning, I woke early, buzzing with excitement. A quick call to my real estate agent, Diane, and I could make the offer on my dream house. Over steaming coffee, I sat at my small kitchen table scanning the property details again. It felt like my future. The neighborhood was idyllic, the layout perfect. At 8:30, I dialed Diane. "Margaret, I was just about to call you. The sellers are reviewing offers today. Are you ready to move forward?" "Absolutely," I replied, heart racing. "I just need to transfer the down payment to my account for the earnest money." "Perfect. Get that done this morning, and I'll submit everything by noon." As I hung up, confidence filled me, like the scent of rain after a dry spell. But a sudden buzz broke the moment. A message popped up from Ethan. "We need to talk. It's about the house. You need to know something." My heart plummeted. The joyous optimism shattered like glass. What should have been a moment of triumph now felt heavy with dread. What if this was the beginning of another betrayal? I hung up, the weight of Ethan's message still looming over me. My heart raced as I opened my banking app. I punched in my password, anxiously watching the screen. When the balance finally appeared, I blinked. It felt like my world narrowed. 3,211.28? No way. Just 4 days ago, my financial security stood strong at $87,000. A cold sweat trickled down my back. This had to be a mistake, right? I closed the app, reopened it, and stared again, hoping for a miracle. The same numbers. My heart pounded like a drum. I fumbled through my transaction history, my hands trembling like leaves rustling in a storm. 3 transfers, each processed over the weekend, each for $29,000. Panic gripped me as the reality crashed in. My entire body went numb. The room spun, shadows creeping in on me. I dashed to the bathroom, and what little coffee I had consumed rushed back up. This couldn't be real. It had to be foul play. With shaky hands, I called the bank's fraud department. After verifying who I was, they left me hanging on hold. The upbeat hold music felt like a cruel joke as my future dissolved before me. Finally, 45 minutes ticked by and a representative answered. "Miss Wilson, I've reviewed the transactions you're concerned about," she said, her voice clinical. "They appear to be authorized transfers from your registered mobile device." My voice rose in disbelief. "But I didn't approve those transfers." Panic clawed at me. "I was at a family gathering all weekend. Someone must have hacked my account." "Were there times someone else had access to your unlocked phone?" she asked. It hit me hard. Ethan Harris had borrowed my phone. The app was open. I remembered his probing questions about my down payment, the expensive watch on his wrist, Tiffany's shiny new bracelet, the sudden warmth in their smiles. Everything I had thought was normal felt like chaos now. How deep did this betrayal run? The air was thick with the scent of fresh paint, a memory of the home she had worked so hard to build. It was supposed to be a safe haven, a place of warmth where laughter echoed through the rooms. Now there was only silence. The walls that once held memories of shared meals and conversations now felt suffocating. Each quiet moment was like a sharp sting, reminding her of the trust that had been shattered. Margaret Carter's world had just turned upside down. A weekend that should have been full of family bonding had instead become a nightmare. Her bank balance, once a symbol of security, now mocked her with its emptiness. $3,211.28? Just days ago she had been sitting comfortably with $87,000 saved. Panic gripped her as she scrolled through the transactions. 3 transfers, each for $29,000. The cold realization hit her like a ton of bricks. Someone she loved had taken it all. She called her bank. The automated hold music felt like a cruel joke as her future slipped further out of reach. When a representative finally answered, Margaret's stomach turned. "They appear to be authorized transfers from your registered mobile device," the woman said, her voice clinical. The words felt like a slap in the face. She hadn't authorized anything. But someone had been using her phone, and that someone was close. Too close. Her brother-in-law, Ethan Harris, had borrowed her phone that weekend. The smile he flashed her, Tiffany's new bracelet sparkling on her wrist. The pieces were falling into place, but how deep did the betrayal go? Margaret hung up the phone, a sense of dread tightening in her chest. She tried calling Tiffany. No answer. She dialed Ethan Harris. Same result. Desperation led her to call her parents. "Margaret, honey, what a lovely surprise," her mother answered. "Did you make it home safely yesterday?" She swallowed hard. "Mom, have you heard from Tiffany and Ethan Harris today?" "Oh yes, they stopped by this morning, showing off their new SUV. Ethan Harris said his investment paid off. It's such a beautiful car, black, with fancy wheels. They said they might take a little vacation to celebrate." Each word felt like a dagger. New SUV. Investment paid off. Vacation. Margaret's mind raced as she tried to hold back the tears. "Mom, I need to go. I'll call you back," she said, her voice cracking. She collapsed onto the couch, her thoughts spiraling. It wasn't just the money, it was everything. Her dream home, her security, the future she had worked so hard for, gone in the blink of an eye. Trembling, she called her best friend, Julia. "Margaret, you need to report this. It's theft," Julia urged. "Family or not, they stole from you." "But they're family," Margaret whispered, the grief threatening to overwhelm her. "That makes it worse, not better," Julia insisted. "If you don't report this, you'll never see that money again. They'll think they can take advantage of you forever." Margaret's heart felt like it was being torn in two. But Julia was right. She had to make a choice. It was time to stand up, not just for her money, but for the dignity that had been taken from her. She made the call. The betrayal had to be faced, no matter how much it hurt. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but Margaret knew this. Her fight for financial independence had just begun. The air felt thick as I stepped into the room. Tiffany froze mid-unpacking, her face draining of color. "What is this about?" she asked, barely above a whisper. I didn't hesitate. "I think you both know exactly what this is about." My fingers swiped open my banking app, revealing the truth. $87,000. Gone. 3 transactions made over the weekend when the only 2 people who had access to my phone were standing right in front of me. Ethan Harris's arms crossed, his surprise quickly melting into defensive posturing. "What are you talking about?" "Don't lie to me," I snapped, fury finally breaking through. "You borrowed my phone at the reunion. You transferred my money into your accounts. You stole my house down payment." Tiffany shot Ethan Harris a look, one I knew too well, but instead of shame, he gave a barely perceptible nod. The mask he'd worn fell away, replaced by something far darker, cold, smug confidence. "Prove it," he challenged, leaning forward. I didn't hesitate. I pulled up the transaction history, holding it in front of them both. 3 transfers, all made when my phone was in your hands. The exact weekend you suddenly have money for a new SUV and designer shopping sprees. Tiffany fidgeted, her discomfort barely visible, eyes flicking from Ethan Harris to me. But he wasn't done. He stepped closer, his voice dripping with scorn. "So, what if we did? We needed it more than you. You're single, no kids. We have expenses. Besides, it's not like you can't save up again." His words cut like ice. I looked at Tiffany, desperate for some sign of solidarity, some trace of the brother I used to know. "Tiffany, how could you? That's everything I worked for. 5 years of saving for my home." She fumbled with her shopping bag, the designer purse barely peeking out. "You always had it easier than me, Margaret Carter," she muttered, her voice barely audible. The betrayal hung heavy in the air. Was this the end of our family? Or had the real battle just begun? Everything always came easy to you. Good grades, good job, good money management. I struggle with everything. You don't know what it's like. "So, you steal from me?" I asked incredulously. "Your own brother." "It's not stealing when it's family," Ethan Harris interjected. "It's redistribution. Besides, if you were really so smart with money, you'd have better security on your accounts." He gestured around the living room at the shopping bags. "Look at all this stuff we needed. New clothes for Tiffany. New tools for me. We're going to Disney World next month. The kids at Tiffany's work are always talking about their vacations, and she deserves to have stories to tell too." Each justification made me more furious. The entitlement, the rationalization, the complete lack of remorse. "I'm going to the police," I said, pulling out my phone again. "This is theft, plain and simple." Ethan Harris's face darkened. "You do that, and we'll make sure the entire family knows how selfish you are. Your own brother needed help, and you chose a house over family. What do you think your parents will say? The whole extended family? Who do you think they'll believe? The brother who's always been difficult and uptight, or the one with the cute family who just needed a little help?" I turned to Tiffany again, desperate for her to see reason. "Is that what you'll tell them? That I wouldn't help you after all the times I've bailed you out, paid your bills, loaned you money you never repaid?" For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of shame in her eyes. But then she moved closer to Ethan Harris, physically taking his side. "You always act like you're better than everyone, Kara Risar," she said, her voice gaining confidence from Ethan Harris's approving nod. "Always so perfect with your financial planning and your career goals. Maybe this is the universe balancing things out. Besides, it's just money. You can make more. Family is forever. Just money." I repeated, my voice breaking. The engine of the car throbbed beneath me, merging with the chaotic rhythm of my heart. My fingers clenched the steering wheel, knuckles white as the reality of betrayal washed over me like ice water. Through tear-streaked eyes, I struggled to focus on the road ahead. What would I say to Julia? With every breath, the weight of loss threatened to suffocate me. Would she understand the depth of my anger and grief? Just as I dialed her number, an ominous tap echoed from the back seat. Was I truly alone on this journey? My future, my home, my security. Everything I had worked for had been stolen from me, and Ethan Harris's laugh rang out like glass shattering against stone. "Well, now it's our future," he said with a smirk. "Go back to your little apartment and start over. Maybe save faster this time." The cruelty of it all left me speechless. The people I trusted most, my blood, my family, hadn't just taken from me. They were mocking me for caring about it. "You practically handed it to us," Ethan Harris taunted, enjoying my distress. The way he twisted the truth, how he framed my financial security as a mistake. It sent something inside me snapping. Without another word, I stormed out, their laughter ringing in my ears like a death sentence. I drove in a daze, tears blinding me, unable to stop the flood of emotion. I pulled over, calling Julia between sobs. "I don't know what to do. It's all gone." "Stay where you are," she said, her voice steady, calm. "I'm coming to get you. Don't drive like this." The ride back to Philadelphia was silent, except for the sound of the wheels on the road, the distant hum of the engine. The betrayal weighed heavy, pressing down on my chest. My dream home, my future, my relationship with my brother, gone. And I knew they might twist the story so well that even my parents would believe them. After all, they always had before. But something else began to stir inside me as we crossed back into Philadelphia. Determination. I wouldn't let them win this time. This time, I would fight back. The next few days felt like a blur, but one thing was clear. I had been through hell, but I wasn't going to stay down. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. Now, the question wasn't about rebuilding my financial security. It was about rebuilding myself. My apartment, once a canvas of dreams in the making, now felt like a cage. The sterile walls, reflecting my hopes of a perfect life, echoed with memories I couldn't escape. I could almost hear the paint drying, a sound that reminded me of the excitement I once felt. Now, all I felt was suffocation. Every inch of this place reminded me of who had betrayed me, who had stolen my future. As I sat at the kitchen table, numb to the world, an email notification pinged. It was from Diane, my real estate agent. Just like that, my heart sank. "Great news! The sellers accepted offers yesterday. Are you ready to submit yours?" I blinked through tears. The house I envisioned filled with laughter and love would slip through my fingers. With shaky hands, I replied, crafting a response that felt like admitting defeat, explaining that my financial situation had crumbled around me. I couldn't even bring myself to showcase the depths of my despair. Diane's reply burst back in, all sympathy and optimism. "Don't worry, more houses will come," she assured. But we both knew the reality. Finding another home in the fierce Philadelphia market could take years. Years I didn't have. By Thursday, my phone buzzed incessantly. My parents left messages full of concern. I dreaded the fourth call but answered, attempting to sound casual. "Margaret Carter, what's going on?" My dad's voice spilled out. "Tiffany says you're accusing her and Ethan Harris of stealing money. She's shaken." The betrayal twisted like a knife. They were spinning a shocking narrative of their own. "Dad, they took my financial security," I replied. $87,000, my down payment for a house." A cold silence filled the space. I gritted my teeth, recalling the family gathering when Ethan Harris had manipulated the situation. "He took it, Dad, right from my phone." My mother jumped in, trying to soothe the chaos. "Honey, there must be a misunderstanding. Ethan Harris told us his investment finally paid off. That's where their money came from." "What investment, Mom?" I snapped, disbelief flooding my voice. "Ethan Harris's never had a successful venture in his life. Why can't you see it?" The truth hung heavy in the air, a bitter reminder of the shattered trust within my family. My dreams felt irrevocably lost. Yet, as I sat there, shoulders heavy with doubt, A flicker of defiance ignited within me. No longer was I going to let their lies determine my fate. I would reclaim my dignity. It was time to fight back. I wasn't just going to rebuild my financial security. I was going to rebuild myself. And this was just the beginning. Margaret Carter felt the sting of betrayal burn deep. How could her own family, the ones who'd always told her blood was thicker than water, turn their backs now? They couldn't see it, didn't want to see it. Her financial security, her future, gone. And for what? So Tiffany and Ethan Harris could live in comfort, with no consequences? She couldn't accept it. Not anymore. The tension crackled in the air as her father's voice echoed in her mind. Isn't it better to just let this go? The audacity of it, letting go of years of hard work for family peace, as if that mattered more than her own dignity. Her breath caught as she shot back, "So I should just forget they stole my life financial security?" Her father's silence spoke volumes. Let it go. For family peace. Her mother had suggested, offering a measly $5,000 to get her started again. Was that all she was worth to them? The door knocked, breaking the suffocating silence. Julia. She stormed in, arms full of groceries and wine. "You're not giving up, are you?" she asked, her voice steady as ever. Was she really considering it? "I don't have a choice," Margaret Carter mumbled, her head heavy. Julia's eyes narrowed as she unloaded the groceries. No, that was exactly what people like Ethan Harris counted on. Decent people giving up for the sake of peace, of family. Victims staying quiet, while the guilty walked free. A slow zoom captures Margaret Carter's trembling hands as her mind races. Where was the justice in that? She had no more time to waste, no more waiting for her family's approval or sympathy. This was her fight now, and it was just beginning. Would she let their lies win, or would she take back what was hers? The camera lingers on her face, the determination slowly replacing the doubt. And just like that, Margaret Carter made a choice. No more running, no more silence. It was time to rebuild. Herself, her life, and everything she deserved. She handed me a glass of wine and sat beside me on the couch. "I have someone I want you to talk to. Stephen Lewis has a lawyer who specializes in fraud cases, and he's a friend who will give you a consultation for free." "I don't know, Julia," I sighed. "Taking legal action against my own brother is exactly what you should do," she finished firmly. "Carissa, listen to me. This isn't about the money anymore. This is about you standing up for yourself. If you let them get away with this, what message does that send? That you're a doormat they can walk all over whenever they need something." Her words stung, but I knew she was right. This pattern with Tiffany and Ethan Harris would never end unless I put a stop to it. The next day, I met with Stephen Lewis in his downtown office. He was a sharp-featured man in his 50s with kind eyes that balanced his otherwise intimidating demeanor. I told him everything from the family dynamics to the specifics of the theft. "You have a strong case," he said after I finished. "The transfers were made without your authorization from your device while it was in their possession. The timing aligns perfectly with their sudden purchases. It's not just circumstantial evidence." My stomach twisted. But would I have to testify against my own brother? Stephen leaned forward, his expression softening slightly. "Miss Wilson, family fraud is more common than you might think. It's also one of the most underreported crimes because of exactly the conflict you're feeling right now. But ask yourself this. If a stranger had stolen $87,000 from you, would you hesitate to report it?" "Of course not," I admitted. "Your brother and brother-in-law are counting on your family loyalty to protect them from consequences. They betrayed that loyalty, not you." Over the next few days, I threw myself into building my case. I obtained phone records showing exactly when Ethan Harris had possession of my phone. The old porch creaked underfoot as Margaret Carter stepped inside the cabin. A familiar chill ran through her, but it wasn't the cold air from the woods. It was the sting of betrayal. The scent of pine hung in the air, but it couldn't mask the suffocating weight of what she was about to uncover. As the footage played, her heart twisted. There, in the shadows of the porch, was Ethan Harris, hunched over her phone during the exact time the first suspicious transfer was made. Her mind raced. The laughter, the bond, the trust she thought she shared with Tiffany, now it all felt hollow. Had she been blind all these years? How could Tiffany, her brother, be involved in this? The person she grew up with? Was this just greed, or was there something deeper? Margaret was no stranger to financial hardship, but this was personal. She'd always been the one to give, to forgive. But now she was done. Every piece of evidence she gathered, bank records, social media posts, even phone logs, built the case against her brother and brother-in-law. But nothing could prepare her for the family fallout that would follow. The thought of losing everything she once believed in, the loyalty, the support, made her hesitate. But as Margaret sat in Stephen Lewis's office, the reality hit. If a stranger had stolen $87,000 from her, would she even hesitate to fight back? No. Ethan and Tiffany weren't just family anymore. They were thieves, and that betrayal deserved to be exposed. She had everything ready, the evidence, the police report, the legal backing. But the real challenge wasn't in the courtroom, it was in the fallout. The fear of tearing apart her family, of losing everything she thought she knew, still gripped her heart. Could she really go through with it? "Are you ready?" Julia's voice cut through the tension on the phone that night. Tomorrow changes everything, Margaret. Was she ready? Was she prepared to stand up for herself? Tomorrow, everything would change. But for the first time in years, Margaret felt like she finally had control. The weight of betrayal pressed heavily on Margaret as she stood before the door. The familiar smell of pine, the crunch of gravel beneath her boots, everything felt so normal. Yet nothing was. The world she once knew was gone, shredded by lies and deception. As she walked up the porch, her eyes caught a photograph, one from her childhood, a picture of her, Tiffany, and Ethan. There they were, smiling, carefree under the summer sun, a painful reminder of what she had lost. Inside, the sound of laughter echoed, carefree, just like the picture. But for Margaret, every step toward that door felt heavier. Her heart pounded, louder than the laughter, a rhythm of pain, yet determination. Could she really do this? Could she expose the truth? Tear down the walls of her family? She wasn't just a brother or a daughter anymore. She was someone with everything to lose, and everything to reclaim. The door creaked open. Ethan's smug face was the first thing she saw, and it almost stopped her cold. "Back for more drama," he taunted, his voice dripping with false confidence. Margaret's breath caught in her throat, but she pressed forward. She wasn't here to argue. She wasn't here to beg for answers. She was here to take control. Tiffany was on the couch, surrounded by bags from stores she couldn't afford to shop at. Margaret's eyes narrowed. The evidence, the betrayal, was all around her. The brochures for Disney World, the luxury purchases, it was clear as day now. Tiffany had used her trust, her sisterly love, to manipulate and take what wasn't hers. "Margaret, you should have called first," Tiffany said, her voice defensive, pushing shopping bags away like they were nothing. It wasn't the first time she'd dismissed Margaret's presence as insignificant. But this time, Margaret didn't back down. "You really thought you could get away with this, didn't you?" Margaret's voice was steady, unwavering. No more pretending. No more silence. Ethan Harris stood by the door, arms crossed, smirking. "So, what's this family matter you wanted to talk about?" His mockery was too much, but Margaret wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her falter. With a deep breath, she opened her bag, her weapon of truth. Every legal document, every piece of evidence she'd gathered, every ounce of courage she had, all of it came out. She was no longer the woman they had walked all over. She wasn't some naive girl. She was Margaret Carter, and she was ready to take back her dignity. A moment of silence passed. Was it fear she saw in their eyes, or just the realization that their time was up? Margaret didn't wait for them to speak. She had a story to tell, and this time, she wasn't going to be silenced. The family she once knew, the family she loved, was nothing more than a lie, built on betrayal. And now, it was time for the truth to take center stage. Would they stand there and let the consequences unfold? Or would they try to deny what was already too obvious? Margaret didn't care. She was done hiding. The truth had a way of making its presence known, loud, clear, and unstoppable. And for the first time, Margaret knew. She had the power. Tomorrow would change everything. Margaret stood there, every muscle frozen, as the room felt colder by the second. Tiffany's nervous eyes flickered between her and Ethan Harris, whose mocking laughter echoed, sending chills down Margaret's spine. Her heart raced. This was the moment she'd been waiting for, the moment she could finally reclaim what was rightfully hers. She opened her mouth to speak, but the silence was thick, suffocating. Was she about to expose everything, or was she about to lose it all? The tension was unbearable as Margaret set her bag down on the coffee table, deliberately slow. "I wanted to give you both a chance to make this right," she said, voice calm, controlled. "Return my money, and we can work something out. No courts, no drama." Ethan Harris sneered, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Are you still on about that? We told you the money's from my investment paying off. Stop being so dramatic." Tiffany nodded, but couldn't meet Margaret's gaze. "It's true. Ethan Harris has been working on this deal for months. It's all just a coincidence." Margaret didn't flinch. She knew what was coming next. With a deliberate motion, she opened her bag, pulling out a pile of legal documents. The truth laid bare. Before they could process the shift, a loud bang rattled the house, making them jump. The door slammed open. 2 officers stepped inside, followed by a woman in a suit Margaret recognized, Diana Martinez from the fraud investigation team. Behind them was Stephen, her lawyer, holding a briefcase. Tiffany and Ethan Harris's faces drained of color as the officers approached. Ethan Harris stammered, clearly trying to recover. "Yes?" "We have a warrant to question you regarding a fraud investigation," one officer said, handing him a document. Margaret's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the shock, then confusion, and finally fear, creeping into Ethan Harris's eyes. It was over. Margaret had played the long game. Now, the truth would take center stage. Would Ethan Harris try to talk his way out of it? Or was it too late? Margaret didn't care anymore. The truth was unstoppable. And tomorrow would change everything. Wednesday. The air felt charged, each second thick with anticipation. Margaret Carter stood in the dim light of her brother's living room, the weight of betrayal pressing against her chest. "I need you both to sit down. We need to talk." Before Ethan Harris could utter a word, her lawyer, Stephen, stepped in, eyes sharp and focused. "Ethan Harris Wilson, we have something serious to discuss." He extended a stack of papers. "This is a notice of a civil lawsuit for the fraudulent transfer of $87,000 from my client's accounts." Shock washed over Ethan Harris's face, the color draining as if the life was slipping away. "This is ridiculous. You're making a mistake." His voice trembled, desperation creeping in as he glanced at his brother, Tiffany. She sat frozen, wide-eyed, almost pleading for him to take a step back from the abyss. But it was too late. Margaret felt a swell of satisfaction as Miss Diana Martinez from the bank interjected. "Mr. Wilson, it's all in the evidence. Transfers were traced from Margaret's phone while it was in your possession. The accounts are linked to offshore shells. You're looking at federal charges here, digital theft, banking fraud. You're done." The calculated blow of the news left Ethan Harris speechless. His mouth twisted in confusion, but no words formed. Tiffany melted into the couch, tears streaming down her face. a victim of a cruel game she didn't see coming. Then the front door swung open. Her parents piled in, followed by Uncle Robert and Aunt Patty, their faces a mix of concern and bewilderment. "What's going on here?" her father demanded, taking in the scene. With a steady voice, Margaret faced her family, the storm inside her finally calm. "Ethan Harris stole my entire financial security using my phone during the family gathering, $87,000. The bank confirmed it, and I'm suing them both to get it back." Each word felt like a nail being driven home, echoes of the past mingling with the stark reality of now. What had once felt sacred was now tainted, leaving the air heavy with unresolved tension. Would this family, once bonded by love, be torn apart by betrayal? Or could justice finally mend the wounds? Tomorrow would reveal the answers. Her journey towards financial independence and a reclaiming of dignity had just begun. My mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. My father's expression darkened as he looked between me and Ethan Harris, the truth finally sinking in. "Is this true?" he asked Ethan Harris directly. Before Ethan Harris could formulate a denial, Tiffany broke down completely. "It was his idea," she cried, pointing at Ethan Harris. "He said we deserved it more than she did." He said, years of being the reliable brother had taken a toll, yet nothing could prepare me for this betrayal. The air was thick, almost electric as I faced Tiffany. Anguish rippled through me. My voice trembled. "You had choices, Tiffany. You could have warned me. You could have called." Her gaze dropped, heavy with guilt. "I got caught up in it all. The nice things, the vacation we never could afford." A tear slid down her cheek. It felt like living a dream. But now, I can't sleep. The guilt consumes me. Just then, my parents walked in, their faces ghostly pale. My father leaned forward, elbows on his knees, a picture of regret. "We owe you an apology, Margaret Carter," he said, his voice close to breaking. "We should have trusted you. We should have questioned how they suddenly had so much money." My mother sniffed back tears. "We thought we were supporting Tiffany, but we lost sight of responsibility." For the first time, they recognized their part in this mess, and part of me wanted to forgive them. But the betrayal felt too raw, too recent. I needed justice. "The bank is freezing their accounts," I stated, the words spilling out with newfound strength. "There's a lawsuit pending for restitution and damages. I won't back down." My father's voice cut through the tension, firm and unwavering. This crossed a line. There must be consequences. Tiffany's sobs echoed off the walls, and for the first time, there was no one to shield her from this reckoning. I began to gather my things, an unexpected calm washing over me. The money wasn't back yet. My dream home was gone. Yes, the legal battle ahead promised to be long and grueling, but I felt a flicker of something new. Hope. A chance to reclaim my life, my dignity. Could it be that in this darkness I might finally find my light? The courtroom buzzed with a strange energy as the gavel came down, signaling the end of a chapter. Margaret Carter stood there, feeling the weight of her triumph, but then the truth hit like a thunderclap. Tiffany, her brother, was standing at the back, tears streaming down her face, but there was something unreadable in her eyes. Was it guilt, relief, or something darker? A chilling realization cut through Margaret like a knife. The betrayal ran deeper than she'd ever imagined. The family wasn't the only one at fault. The air felt heavier than it should, thick with tension as her father leaned forward. "We should have trusted you," he said, his voice cracking. "We should have questioned how they suddenly had so much money." Her mother's face was ashen, sniffing back tears, her regret almost palpable. For the first time, they recognized their part in this mess. Margaret didn't know if she could forgive them. Not yet. The sting of betrayal was too fresh, but there was something new, something stirring deep within her. A flicker of hope, a sense of strength she hadn't known she had. 3 months passed before Ethan Harris's case made its way through the courts. Overwhelming evidence forced his hand, and he accepted a plea deal. The court ordered him to repay every penny of the $87,000 plus $15,000 in damages. His new SUV was sold. The other luxury items vanished. He got 2 years probation and 200 hours of community service. Family betrayal, after all, was a particularly cruel violation of trust. The money started coming back through a court-monitored payment plan, but it wasn't just the dollars that were returned. It was the justice, the sense of dignity Margaret had lost but was slowly reclaiming. Tiffany, devastated and guilt-ridden, moved back in with their parents. Her marriage was over. The strain of betrayal had cracked it wide open. A week after Ethan Harris's arrest, she filed for separation. Emotional manipulation, financial control. She cited them as the main reasons. As for Margaret, her relationship with her brother remained complicated. She wasn't ready to open the door wide, but she wasn't shutting it either. They started meeting with a family counselor, slowly rebuilding what had been broken long before the theft. And then came the confession that shattered everything. Tiffany's voice was quiet, filled with vulnerability. "I was always jealous of you, Margaret. You seemed so together, so perfect. I felt like I was failing at everything. It was easier to resent you than to learn from you." The counselor guided them through it. Tiffany had never seen Margaret for who she truly was, a person with her own struggles. They were both more complicated than the roles they'd been playing. Both were more human than they'd ever let each other see. My parents underwent their own reckoning during this time. They apologized repeatedly for not believing me initially and for years of enabling behavior that had contributed to the situation. My father, in particular, seemed determined to make amends, offering financial help that I gently declined. This was something I needed to rebuild on my own terms. By the 6-month mark, I had received enough of the restitution money to begin house hunting again. The perfect brownstone was long gone, but Diane, my ever-patient real estate agent, helped me find a different property. It was smaller than my original dream home, but it had character and potential. Most importantly, it was mine, purchased with money that now carried the weight of a hard-won battle rather than just years of careful saving. The day I closed on the house, Julia helped me move in, christening the new space with takeout Chinese food, eaten on the floor of the empty living room. "Are you sad about losing the first house?" she asked as we broke open fortune cookies. I considered the question carefully. A little. It was perfect. But maybe it wasn't meant to be my home after all. This one feels right for where I am now. Which was true. The person who had saved for that first house was different from the woman who now held these keys. I had changed, grown stronger, and more defined in my sense of self. This house would be filled with boundaries as well as dreams, with hard-earned wisdom as well as hope. The experience had transformed my approach to family as well. I learned that true family doesn't take advantage of your love. It doesn't use loyalty as a weapon or generosity as an expectation. Sometimes the family you choose, like Julia, who had stood by me without hesitation, proves more reliable than the one you're born into. That didn't mean I had given up on my blood relatives. Tiffany and I continued our monthly counseling sessions, making slow but steady progress. The smell of old paper and the hum of fluorescent lights in the office triggered a memory, a time when I felt so lost and vulnerable. With the adrenaline pumping through me, I remember receiving my first paycheck. Shaky hands typed in the numbers for my rent payment. And then there was Ethan Harris, his betrayal lingering like a dark shadow. Every choice, every hurdle felt monumental, but those small victories, they were like sweet nectar. I realized then, it was all on me. My survival depended entirely on my strength. Margaret Carter had started over. She found a job, carving her path without Ethan or her parents as safety nets. Sure, it wasn't always a smooth ride. There were bumps, awkward conversations, but also moments igniting hope for reconciling with her family. Boundaries became her armor, No more enabling. No more being the designated scapegoat. They struggled with her new stance at first, but soon they respected this empowered woman. And as for Ethan, he remained in the background, fulfilling his court-mandated community service. The thought of rebuilding anything with him made her stomach knot. Some betrayals cut too deep for any Band-Aid. Margaret learned the hard way that security was non-negotiable. Two-factor authentication became her new mantra. She guarded her passwords fiercely, keeping a secret emergency fund, too. This wasn't paranoia. It was her self-preservation. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's vital. The discomfort of confrontation faded away compared to the erosion felt from endless exploitation. A year after the family gathering that flipped her world upside down, Margaret hosted a housewarming party in her new home. It wasn't the mansion she'd once dreamed of, but the warmth of genuine companionship filled every corner. Julia and her husband were there, friends from work, lovely neighbors she'd connected with, and yes, her parents and brother, Tiffany. Here, the laughter echoed against the walls, proof that at the end of the day, she chose family who cherished her, not the ones who had betrayed her trust. As I scanned the faces gathered around me, it hit me. This betrayal, which once felt like the catastrophic end of my world, was just the seed for something greater. A revelation burst forth. This new life was one where I valued myself enough to insist others do the same. A world where forgiveness didn't mean reopening the door to hurt. Sometimes, the most loving act is to hold people accountable. Have you ever had to confront family members who tried to walk all over you? It's tough, right? But often, it's the only way to shatter those toxic cycles. Can you feel that weight lift when you finally stand your ground? As I enjoyed the laughter bouncing off the walls of my new home, I was reminded of the power of self-respect. It's a journey filled with bumps, but every moment strengthens you. What do you think? How would you handle standing up to your own family? Comment below to share your stories. If my journey resonates with you, give this a thumbs up and subscribe for more tales of resilience amidst family challenges. Remember, protecting your boundaries isn't selfish. It's vital for a fulfilling life. Stay empowered, and I'll catch you in the next video.